Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. This week I did a way overdue beehive inspection. The weather was good. We had a break in the showers, but it didn't go according to plan, and I ended up with 4 bee stings on my left hand. It's blooming painful. I had bruising and literally a swollen first finger and thumb for about 3 or 4 days, and it was as itchy as crazy. So yeah, wasn't good. Wasn't expecting it at all, because in previous hive checks, hive inspections, it's gone pretty well. So let me show you what happened, and then I'll share with you the 5 mistakes I made that if you're new to beekeeping or even thinking about beekeeping, you won't want to make as well. So it wasn't the best experience, and it hasn't put me off beekeeping, luckily. I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful for the forum, the beekeeping forum that I am a member of, because there were 2 or 3 beaks, we call ourselves, came to my rescue and gave me some really, really amazing tips. And I'm going to take them with me on the next inspection and make sure that I don't make the same rookie errors twice. So let me take you through the 5 mistakes. First off, open the hive in a calm, gentle, warm, dry day. Bees will know when the weather is changeable, and depending on the size of the colony, so the bigger the colony, the stronger the colony, the more established they are, they will most definitely have more in them to want to defend, because there's more at stake. So if you have a period of changeable weather, you really just want to just not go there until you know that the forecast is showing a good few days of, warm, dry, not windy weather. So I think I made the right decision to go in on a warm, dry day. What I hadn't paid enough attention to is what time of day I went in there. And this brings me to point number 2. So mistake number 2 is not going in on the right, I say the right, but the optimum, the best time of day. So open a hive at midday, completely right in the middle of the day, or as close to noon as you can possibly make it, because the foragers, who are the ones that will also, the bees that will also defend the hive, are most likely to be out and about. So they'll be foraging on the flowers. They could be out for a while. So there is less, technically there are less bees, and definitely less forager bees, which are the ones that will defend, in the hive at that time. So I went in at, I think I started inspecting at about 4 p.m. So rookie error, I won't do that one again. Point 3, I've got them on my phone so I don't forget any. Point 3, smoke is your friend. Now, I had a lot of smoke going. I had the smoker going well, a few puffs in the entrance of the hive at the bottom board where they fly in, and I could have left that going for a bit longer before I opened the top box and exposed the hive. It is said that the longer you can leave them to like soak up the smoke, which is a danger to them. It's like, high alert, we've got a fire coming. What happens is that they then go and consume some of the honey to gorge themselves, just in case they, need to flee. And so they're distracted, right? They're distracted on the lovely, yummy honey, and then they're less likely to want to attack and be aggro. So definitely more smoke. I had smoke going during the whole process of that hive, as you may well have seen, the hive inspection. But I could have had more of that at the beginning before I opened the hive. Point 4, smooth, slow moves. This is where my lack of confidence and lack of experience came into play. The slower you can move, the more considered and less clumsy you can be, particularly in a hive that's then well established, which is, something I'm not used to. I've only had the nuke since January, end of January. The slower and more considered and graceful and easeful your moves can be, the less aggro the bees get. So they don't really like swift movements. It's quite difficult to not do knee-jerk reactions, particularly when you're pulling up the frames, because the frames propylize and they get really sticky. And so you need to get the hive tool in to extricate them from each other, so then you can lift the frames up. That's not a straightforward, smooth job in itself, because it just takes like one move and the frames can shoot away from each other, and then that ricochets on the bees. So I'm not sure how I could have done that any better, given that the propolis was so stuck to the frames. However, when I then lifted the frames, there were bees on either side, and I definitely squashed one with my right hand. And again, that sends out a signal to the rest of the gang that there's a problem. High alert, we need to fix this. And then the foragers will come out and the protectors will come out and defend the hive. So point 4 is smooth, slow moves. Mistake number 5 that I made, obviously wear your gear. You're going to wear all your gear. I put my gardening gloves on instead of my bee gloves, because my bee gloves are quite, the fingers are really thick. They're full. You find it hard to grip anything, and you can't get your fingers underneath the frames. There's a solution for that. There's these gripper things that you can use, a bit like bulldog clips for your head that grip the frames, and then you can pick them up in the middle. I haven't got one of those. I can invest in one of those. But full gear, I had gardening gloves on. Even though they're mostly leather, there are patches where they're just fabric, and that's where the bees got into me and stung me on my hand. So always, if it doesn't matter what your previous experience has been with any bee colony and any inspection, they can turn at any time. Anything can disrupt them. So always err on the side of caution, and always wear your gear. Within that covering up yourself part of tip number 5, and this came from one of the ladies in the forum, was to, as you take off the lid and expose the bees at the top, is to lay over a couple of tea towels. While you're inspecting each frame, you're covering up all of the other frames so that they can't see what's going on. It doesn't feel so exposed for them, and they're quite content being in there. There's no immediate danger. And then as you move through each of the frames, then you put a tea towel on the ones that you've done already. So you're only ever exposing one single frame at a time. And I think on reflection, that is going to be a really, that's a fantastic tip, and it's going to be a great tip for me going forward, and I'm definitely going to implement that. Yeah, so the other advice was to not go in for another 2 or 3 days from the the inspection going off. I've also heard and read that bees can, you know, they're giving off a pheromone, they're giving off a chemical signal when they hit and attach themselves, you know, land on your bee suit. And I've heard that it's actually quite useful to go and put your bee suit in the wash to clear some of that chemical, some of that pheromone out, which fingers crossed should be a good reason for them not to notice who I am. Because that was another thought in my head, was like, oh, I wonder if they remember. Bees must remember. They must remember maybe my outline or whatever. I don't know. The other thing also is from this is not part of the 5 points and 5 mistakes not to make, but I was videoing this, so I had a GoPro on my chest, which is where you were getting those images from. Of course, the GoPro's black, and the holder that you wear across your chest to keep it in place is also black. And I noticed how they were hitting the GoPro, hitting the black spot on my chest. They don't like dark anything because it reminds them of bears, and bears love to steal honey. So that's another reason to not wear that next time, is because that aggravated, the GoPro aggravated them on my chest. And so the solution to that is to get Den to film me rather than me trying to film myself. And that's part also of me being clumsy, is that, you know, I was not only beekeeping in that moment, but I'm also vlogger, videographer, vlogger, and trying to get the shots and trying to focus on the bees. And so, you know, it's just too much. It's overwhelming. And so, yeah, it just can't happen next time. It cannot happen. I'm recognizing that I'm trying to do too much by myself, and that can't happen anymore. I need support. I need help to do that, the filming next time. So yeah, lots of lessons, but it absolutely killed me. It really hurt. Didn't have any, you know, I'm not anaphylaxis, but I had no overly negative response to the stings. It reminded me of being a kid, but when you're a kid, you only get stung once, right? You don't get stung 4 times. So it was a bit of an initiation, a bit of a shock in a way, and it was bloody painful and itchy. But yeah, it's not put me off. So yeah, hey ho, you live and learn. And I can't, even though it's a little bit sunny today, we've got another week's worth of showers, sun showers, you know, really changeable weather. So I won't be going in within 3 days. And next time I do go in, I'm going to really plan more specifically about what I want to see while I'm doing the inspection. You know, what am I looking out for in there? Whereas before I was going in to have a general look and a little bit of curiosity, and because I hadn't been in for a good 6 weeks. So we're in a quieter time of season now. We're in the autumn. That they are, even though we have still lots of flowers around, some flowering trees around, the paperbarks are flowering, and that honey flow is constant. It doesn't dry up. We don't have a drought in this part of the world. they will slow down. So they had plenty of honey. There was plenty of brood, capped brood, uncapped brood. The brood are the larvae that grow into the bees, the female bees, and yeah, it was chock full. It was chock full of bees, as you would have seen in the video. So yeah, it's all part of the journey. They tell me, beekeepers tell me, it is part of the journey. You'll find your own way of doing things, and while there are lots of tips, lots of experience, you can only gain more confidence by keep being and spending time with the bees and interacting with the bees and getting stuck in. So yeah. Those 5 mistakes will not be happening next time. So if you've got any questions about beekeeping, the bees, honey, maintenance, anything at all that you're even fascinated about or want to share, if you've got your own beekeeping journey and have got some tips for me, I'm all ears for that. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, do you like this beekeeping content? Let me know. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.